Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, apologies for being late. I got stuck in your president's motorcade. I'm going to throw out my written speech and just very shortly brief you on the floods, and then I look forward to taking all your questions. Ladies and gentlemen, I've arrived from Pakistan, and I'm sure you've been following the news, you've been watching television, and seeing the devastation caused by the floods, by the monsoon rains. But I feel that the word floods, the word rains, the word monsoon doesn't quite encapsulate the devastation that we are experiencing at the moment. This is a catastrophe of epic, apocalyptic, biblical proportions. I'm sure you've all heard, we've all heard of Noah's floods, and it is said that it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Well, our monsoon climate catastrophe started in mid-June, and the rains went on and on and on till the very end of August. And when the rains did finally stop, a 100-kilometer lake formed in the middle of my country that can be seen from space, covering areas of Balochistan and largely my home province of Sindh. And usually when you think of natural disasters, whether it's an earthquake, a tsunami, even flooding, the disaster comes, the disaster goes, and you deal with the aftermath. But more than a month on, we're still in an active disaster. That 100-kilometer lake is still descending towards the ocean, leaving devastation in its wake. It was a third of the landmass of my country that was underwater. 1 in 7 people affected, 33 million people. More than the population of New York State, more than the population of Sri Lanka, 95% of the population of Canada, immediately homeless, lost, and staring death in the face. This is a compounded catastrophe because we're still in the rescue and relief phase of this flooding. But we expect one crisis to follow another. We are already seeing initial signs of various epidemics as a result of waterborne diseases, including malaria. And in a time when we're already facing economic insecurity, food insecurity, we had 4 million acres of standing crop devastated. We fear that 2 months from now, when we were to plant our wheat crop, that now will not be possible. So in addition to the climate catastrophe, we're also staring at a potential health catastrophe, food security crisis, and on top of all of that, for all of you who've been following Pakistan must know, we were already engaged in very difficult negotiations with the IMF and had just reached our IMF agreement and were hoping to be able to enjoy a short space of economic relief. Now that entire IMF deal with Pakistan, all the figures, all the estimates, that too has been washed away by the floods. The guesstimate, and I say initial guesstimate because until the water recedes, we can't actually come to a proper figure. But the guesstimate of economic damage cost is close to $30 billion. And this crisis, this catastrophe, is not the fault of the people of Dadu in Sindh, of Nasirabad in Balochistan, of DG Khan in South Punjab, of Diyar Khan in Pakhtunkhwa. Our overall carbon footprint, our carbon output, is 0.8%. But all of a sudden, we are amongst the 10 most climate stress countries on the planet. I think officially we're number 8. So I'm here, and I'm speaking to the United Nations and various different countries, and I'm extremely grateful. I mean, the UN Secretary General came himself to Pakistan, delegation after delegation from the United States, including USAID, congressional delegation, and others have come and offered assistance. But I don't want to beg for aid or for dole. I want justice for my people. I want climate justice. We want to be able to rebuild their lives and livelihoods in a just manner. And every crisis does indeed also offer an opportunity. We will have to reconstruct our lives, our infrastructure, our irrigation infrastructure, our communication infrastructure. And we want to do so in a better way, in a greener way, in a climate resilient way. And I believe that this is the moment that Pakistan can now plan going forward to adapt ourselves to the increasingly frequent climate catastrophes that we now regularly face. I must say that while the Pakistan People's Party has been a leading voice on climate in Pakistan, on environment in Pakistan, and putting this agenda forward, we were focused on wind energy, solar energy, perhaps feeling that, we're not quite doing enough, but we're at it. We're working sort of in the right direction. Now I understand that it's woefully not enough, and we have to reprioritize. While we will continue to focus on green energy, now adaptation has to be our main focus. We have to adapt to live in this new world, hotter world, where we will face increasingly more frequent monsoons, once in 100-year floods more regularly. And I can only pray that they're not as apocalyptic as the scenes back home. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to taking your questions.